This is 180 Multi-Voice number 1. Proper names: Officer Cervantes, City of Bell Gardens; Officer Mahan, Officer Cortez. Eastern Avenue, Bell Gardens Hotel, County of Los Angeles, FGH, Jeffrey Love, Mr. Moore. And I'm going to be Mr. Ray.
The witness?
The court.
One says Mr. Ramirez.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ramirez. I'm so sorry.
You're
We
with the
did
court.
like 8 more earlier, and I'm still stuck on the court.
Okay,
You're
so
right,
I'm
you're
going to be Ms. Ray. I think I said Mr. Ray. Ms. Ray.
The witness?
Mr. Ramirez.
Okay, we start with direct examination by Ms. Ray. Good morning, Officer Cervantes.
Good morning.
Officer Cervantes, I'm going to ask you about the events that occurred on, well, first of all, let me ask you, what is your occupation and assignment?
A police officer with the City of Bell Gardens.
And how long have you been a police officer?
A little over 10 years.
I'm going to ask you about the events which occurred on January 16th, year 2000, approximately 10:30 a.m. Were you on duty in the City of Bell Gardens?
Yes.
And what happened while you were on duty?
I had heard a pursuit go out, and Officer Mahan and Officer Cortez.
And were you asked to do anything in this pursuit?
Yes. Apparently, there was supposedly an accident that may have occurred or happened, and I was asked to look to see if there was an accident and if there were any injuries.
Were you able to find any evidence of a collision or near collision?
No, I didn't find anything.
Meaning, what did you find?
I didn't find any accident.
I would object. She didn't find any cars. It is irrelevant if she found nothing.
All right. What did you do next after you completed that task?
I was then asked by Officer Mahan to respond to the scene of the crime, which was, I believe, 7330 Eastern Avenue.
Is that the Bell Gardens Hotel?
Yes, it is.
Is that in the City of Bell Gardens, County of Los Angeles?
Yes, it is.
And what did you do upon arriving at the scene?
Upon arriving, attempted to look for the victim, and at that point, he wasn't there. I asked the receptionist at the hotel. She stated that he was a guest and had returned to his...
Objection. Hearsay. That is hearsay. Move to strike the answer.
At some point in time, did you ask the receptionist to phone the victim?
Yes, I did.
And did the victim respond to the lobby?
Yes.
Okay. This was the lobby of Bell Gardens Hotel, correct?
Yes.
And when he responded at the lobby, did you interview him?
Yes, I did. He approached me and I noticed that his head...
Objection. Not responsive after yes.
I will ask another question. When you first saw the victim, let me direct you to what has been marked Peoples 1. Do you recognize any of these photographs?
Yes, I do.
And which ones are they?
F, G, and H.
And who is that?
There's the victim.
Did you take those photographs?
Yes, I did.
Could you please describe for the jury the victim's injuries?
He had about 1.5 inch laceration on the back of his left side of his head.
And what was his condition?
It required about, I think it was 5 staples.
Did you accompany him to the hospital?
Yes, I did.
And I noticed that there was, can you describe what you saw basically when you saw the victim?
When he approached me, I noticed that his head was covered in blood. It had drenched his shirt. He had a black shirt, but you could still tell that there was a lot of blood along the collar and the back sides of the shirt, and his face and neck.
Okay. And how? Actually strike that. So at some point in time, you interviewed the victim, correct?
Yes, I did.
And did you have him sit down?
Yes. Because of his injury, I asked him to sit down on the curb there at the hotel.
And the victim told you what happened?
Yes, he did.
What happened after the victim told you what happened?
I was asked I asked him if he could identify the suspects if seen again, and that was an affirmative, so...
Objection. Hearsay and move to strike that answer.
At some point in time, did you take the victim to a field show-up?
Yes, I did.
And what is a field show-up?
A field show-up is where I instruct the victim that he's going to be shown either photos or persons in this case, and that admonish him to the fact that he needs to positively identify this person as being the suspect, or this is not the suspect, and be positive in that, as well, so as we don't send an innocent person to the jail.
And at some point in time, did you take him to the field show-up?
Yes, I did.
And did you notice who was present at the field show-up?
Yes.
And do you see any of those people in court today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point him out for the jury?
If I remember correctly, this here on the, to my right is Jeffrey Love, and this, I believe, is Mr. Moore.
And to your right, can you describe his shirt, please?
It's got some sort of a pattern, golf shirt maybe, colored.
What color is it?
It looks brown, tan.
And how about Mr. Moore?
It's a blue patterned shirt, stripes.
Okay. And please let the record reflect that the defendant has identified both defendants. What did you do after did you show these two defendants to the victim?
Objection, Your Honor. It's lack of foundation and hearsay.
Yes, I responded to the scene with the victim, and both of these
You're Mr. Whitaker. You're Mr. Whitaker.
Oh. And you're the court?
Yes. It's been a very confusing.
She's back to being the court.
I'm confused.
Okay. So this is 180 multi-voice number 2. Proper names. People versus Ortiz. City of Whittier, County of Los Angeles, State of California, Detective Wolf, ETA, Chain Link, Vehicle Code Section 460, People versus White, CALJIC 17.46, Mr. Wolf. I'm going to be Ms. Torres.
I think we usually say Calgic. I don't
Calgic?
know what that is, but that's what
Okay.
we said.
So I guess we'll say Calgic.
What is it? Let me see it first.
I don't know.
Calgic 17.46.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's, okay, so anyway, I'm going to be Ms. Torres.
Mr. Whitaker,
The court.
Ms. Torres.
Mr. Whitaker,
The court.
and it's all colloquy.
All colloquy. Let's see.
All right. People versus Ortiz. Defendant is present with counsel. People are represented. Who is going to be your first witness?
We're going to rest.
Oh, you're going to rest. Okay.
And Your Honor, I need to ask the court to take judicial notice. I don't believe I asked this question, that the city of Whittier is in the county of Los Angeles, the state of California.
I think we can even stipulate if that's a necessity.
All right.
I can't recall asking the question. Also, Your Honor, regarding rebuttal witnesses, Officer or Detective Wolf is on his way here. He contacted me just minutes ago. He went out and took a photo of the alley depicting the chain link fence.
How long will it be?
I can call him right now on his cell phone.
I'm just in terms of letting the jurors relax.
Let me call him on his cell phone and ask him for an ETA.
Okay.
I just talked to him right before coming up here, so
Well, how about the jury instructions?
then we can do jury instructions.
Mr. Whitaker, did you guys agree to most of the instructions?
Pretty much, yes.
Are there any you disagreed on?
Yes.
Make your call.
Sorry. He said about 20 to 30 minute ETA.
Okay. How long do you think it will take to take care of the jury instructions?
10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Well, let's do that now while we're waiting.
Yeah.
Let the jurors go for 20 minutes. Come back at 10.
You want to say half an hour just to make sure?
That shows how much credence you have.
I am going to argue that too.
Tell them about 10:10, and then as soon as they leave, we can sit down and go over jury instructions. Counsel are present. There has been discussion. Counsel have conferred on the jury instructions, and jury instruction based on Vehicle Code Section 460 was offered by the defense. People objected. That instruction will be given, and the people have offered an instruction based on People versus White, and defense objected to that. That instruction is refused. And any other instructions? Instruction on possession is defined in jury instruction.
I'm not objecting to that, Your Honor.
Okay, then I take it it's stipulated that aside from those objections and refusals, all the instructions that will be given to the court, or counsel agreed to all the remaining instructions given to the court, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I think that takes care of that. All right, People versus Ortiz. Defendant is present with counsel. People are represented. All right, I have, as I was going through these instructions, first of all, 2.60 and 2.61, I take it defense is requesting. Is that right, to self-incrimination?
Right.
I'll mark that down as defense request. I have CalJIC 17.46. It says jury not to speculate as to partial acquittal by the court. Why do we need that?
Missed it.
That's a mistake.
Okay, let me hand this down to you regarding the gang allegation. On the second page, there are some fill-ins.
Yes.
Whoever has the best printing, would you print in what you two agree should go into those blank spaces? And when we come back, I guess Mr. Wolf is going to be the witness. Is that it?
I'm debating that, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. I thought you had, okay.
Well, I did, and I was, and
All right. 1085-1 was one of the offenses, I think.
Your Honor, I do actually have one other issue for outside the presence of the jury regarding closing arguments. And I think we need to have just a short hearing regarding any statements by defense counsel during his closing regarding the defendant's state of mind through the witness that testified. Anything saying, well, the defendant thought he could do this, or it was proper for him to move the car, that would be improper testimony. I would ask the court to admonish counsel regarding that, because the defendant obviously didn't testify in this matter.
Right. My understanding is I can argue anything.
Any inferences from that, I suppose?
Right.
Just like you were going to argue, well, he intended to steal it.
Well, but the inferences of defendant's state of mind, I mean, only the defendant can tell us what he was thinking, not the witness.
Well, you can argue that, I suppose. If he goes into that on closing, I suppose you could comment on that. If you open it up in that respect, you wouldn't be commenting on his self-incrimination rights, I suppose. If you were arguing, see, he was told.
Well, there is no question he was told.
Yeah, I mean, I am just saying, if you state that, and therefore he didn't have the intent to steal it, I mean, you can always come back and say he did have the intent. He said so on the video, etc., right? I mean, this is all for you to argue.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm just saying if he goes into the specifics of the defendant's state of mind, that it would be improper that he thought it was okay.
All
Okay, this is 160 multi number 1, proper nouns. Okay, deposition exhibit 5, deposition exhibit 4, deposition exhibit 5, Tri-State, Andy Parsley, Mr. Parsley, and Mr. Cortez. I'm going to be Mr. Powers.
The witness?
Mr. Bramblett.
Mr. Powers.
The witness?
Mr. Bramblett.
And we start with questioning by Mr. Powers. Are you testifying there could have been, or you just don't remember?
I just don't remember.
Let me show you what I will mark as Cortez Deposition Exhibit 5. Let me stop for 1 second and go back to Deposition Exhibit 4 before we get off of that. What type of warning is this?
It is formally informed in writing.
The previous warning had been
A verbal.
Let me show you Deposition Exhibit 5. The question is, have you ever seen that before?
I really couldn't remember until now that I'm seeing it.
I'm sorry, you couldn't remember it until now?
Yeah, until now me seeing it.
Do you remember it now?
Yes, it is quite a long time ago.
I understand that. I am as sympathetic to anybody to lapses in memory. I want to see what you do remember today, and hopefully these documents will help you remember. This warning was issued on the 21st of September, 1988, right?
Yes,
Am I right that it is issued a little bit more than 3 months after you started employment with Tri-State?
yes.
The warning is because your productivity performance is at 68.97% when it should be at 85%. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you have any disagreement with this warning?
At that time, I couldn't remember if there was a disagreement or not.
Are you testifying that you might have disagreed with it, but you just can't remember?
I just can't remember. I was just doing my best to get my percentages.
Who gave you this warning? Do you recall?
It says here, Andy Parsley.
Did you complain to Mr. Parsley the company was setting standards that were too high for you to meet?
Not that I remember. I just refused to sign it. Every time they were calling everyone in for them to get to let them know where they were. And the shop steward was always there telling you not to sign because they were still trying for them to get their percentages down to a low rate.
Were the standards that were applied to you any different than the standards that were applied to any other employees?
If you know.
Excuse me?
Were the standards, the productivity standards that were applied to you any different than those that were applied to the other employees?
No. Everyone was, disagreeing.
That is not his question. Listen to what he's asking you. He's asking you if the standards that you had to work under, the percentages you had to make, were those different for you than other employees?
I really don't know. We would walk in there one by one. I didn't know.
Did you ever ask any of the other employees?
No, not really. They just say where you are at and how you were doing, and that was it.
Was there ever any talk among the employees at the warehouse about what the productivity standards were?
Sometimes. I wasn't really into it.
What does this warning tell you? In other words, what was the result of this warning?
What do you mean?
I'm looking at the section headed Warning Decision.
Suspension, suspend for 1 day, work without pay.
On September 30, 1988, right?
Correct.
Now, you earlier testified that you had never been suspended, I think. Do you recall now being suspended without pay for not meeting your performance standards?
Yes, I remember it now. I didn't remember it then.
Did you complain to the union about that suspension?
I really can't remember.
Did you complain to the company?
No.
Do you think that was fair or unfair?
I think it was unfair
Why?
because I myself was trying as best as I can to get the percentage. I consider myself a hard worker.
Do you have any disagreement with the company setting performance standards for its employees?
Can you repeat it?
Do you have any disagreement with the company setting performance standards for its employees?
Do I what?
Do you have any disagreement with a company like Tri-State setting performance standards for its employees?
Yes.
You think they should not set performance standards for employees?
Well, not at a high rate. After so many hours working, like I say, I was working 12 hours a day sometimes.
So I can understand your testimony. You don't have a problem with performance standards in general. You just think the ones that were applied to you were too high.
It wasn't just me. It was all the employees.
I understand. It is your deposition.
We are just concerned about you.
I just want to understand what your testimony is, Mr. Cortez. As I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, This is multi-voice number 2 at 160. Detective Wolf, Detective LaPlante or O'Brien, Shelley Torres, Detective LaPlante O'Brien, Trap, Honda, Detective O'Brien LaPlante, LaPlante O'Brien, DA, Chainlink. I will be Mr. Whitaker.
The witness.
The court.
Mr. Whitaker.
The witness.
The court.
We start with cross-examination by Mr. Whitaker. Detective Wolf, you're not the owner of the vehicle, though, are you?
No, I'm not.
I've got a few questions that I'm a little bit confused about. Did you take these pictures?
Yes, I did.
And when did you take them?
Probably 2-3 months after the incident.
Okay,
Why did you wait so long?
That's just when we convened.
okay. By convening, you mean you've met with Detective LaPlante or O'Brien?
No, with Shelley Torres.
So she asked you to do it?
Correct.
So then you immediately called Detective LaPlante O'Brien so you'd know exactly where the car was parked in the alley on the date in question, right?
Not on that date, no.
Well, you did check with her because you wanted to have these pictures appropriate and accurate, didn't you?
Not on that date, no, I did not.
Did you check with her some other date
Yes,
before the pictures were taken?
after the pictures were taken.
Didn't you want the pictures to be accurate?
Yes,
Did you believe them to be accurate?
no.
So why did you not believe them to be accurate?
I took the pictures based on from where I believe that the car was placed that day, from my view.
Okay, you were there on the 16th, right?
Correct.
And you saw where the car was placed.
Yes,
And you placed the car for these pictures to the best of your recollection at the same location.
correct.
Okay. Do you have any other officers with you when you had these pictures taken?
Yes, I did.
Who was that?
That was another detective from our trap team.
Was he there on the 16th?
I do not believe so, no.
I am going to move this so that we can see the pictures a little better. Can you see them okay?
Be careful with that cord.
You know, I'll kill myself tripping on it. Okay. So you drove back to the location on the date you took those pictures, and you took this car here. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is that the Honda, the same Honda that was used on the date in question?
Yes, it is.
And that's parked to the best of your ability in the exact same location as it was on the 16th.
Yes,
Okay. And that's basically right at the beginning of the carports.
yes.
Okay. It's not down past the carports.
Not in that picture, no.
Okay. Well, did you take a picture with it down past the carports?
No, I did not.
Okay. When did you review these pictures with Detective O'Brien LaPlante or LaPlante O'Brien?
The first time that she saw those pictures were probably within the last month, I would guess.
Okay. And you showed them to her, or did the DA?
I believe I showed them to her. I don't remember specifically showing them to her.
Okay. So you didn't show them to her to the best of your recollection.
To the best of my recollection, I don't recall, no.
Did you ever discuss with her the location of the vehicle on the 16th?
Yes, I have.
When?
On Friday of last week?
Okay. Was that the first and only time?
No. I've actually spoken to her, I recall, on a previous date a few months ago about it.
Okay. And did you discuss with her the location of the bait car on the 16th?
Yes, I did.
And what did she tell you?
She just basically,
That calls for hearsay.
It's for impeachment, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
What did she tell you?
she just remembered specific areas that she remembered approaching and passing while she was parking the vehicle.
She didn't tell you where she parked it?
She had told me that she had parked it up closer to a chain link fence.
Okay. In your conversation, she said out of the blue, I parked it up close to a chain link fence.
She told me that she remembers coming up to a chain link fence, and she also remembered passing a blue truck.
Okay. You wrote a report on that?
No, I did not.
Is there some reason you didn't write a report on that?
Counsel, you are being argumentative.
I apologize, Your Honor. Did you go back to your photos and determine that they were wrong?
No, I did not.
Did you go back and reshoot the photos that you have the car in the right position?
No, I did not.
Did you go back and shoot the photos so we can see these chain link fence?
No, I did not.
Is there a chain link fence?
I don't see it in the photograph. No.
In fact, you watched